saw most recently a raid at the Bronx Terminal Market. That's a well-known food market in that borough. ICE snatching up not only undocumented workers who were on its list for having committed a crime, but those who were not on its list for having not committing a crime in this country. If they're caught selling without a license, they can actually receive a criminal summons. That simple charge can put them directly in ICE's path. So it's why in many neighborhoods, as I noted, we're starting to see fewer and fewer vendors. Many of them reportedly stopped working altogether to avoid being detained.
Now, this new move, as President Trump remains committed to see mass deportation raids in our city and across the country. Now, under the city's long-standing sanctuary policy, city workers aren't to cooperate and give immigration authorities access to city properties, from our hospitals to our schools, unless armed with a judicial warrant.
We began our journey in Washington Heights, a vibrant neighborhood full of life. But as we moved into the Bronx, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. Local business owners shared stories of declining revenue, employees failing to show up for work, and a growing sense of fear in the community. For some, President Trump's immigration crackdown represents a necessary step toward law and order, but for others, it has turned once bustling neighborhoods into ghost towns.
Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, went along as federal agents conducted an overnight roundup in the Bronx.
Inside the ICE field office in Manhattan, the ranks are enlarged by other agencies now ordered by the Trump administration to gear up for immigration sweeps. And multiple pre-dawn raids targeting undocumented immigrants with criminal records. The charges range from murder to theft to kidnapping.
Store owners report fewer customers and employees too scared to come to work, fearing deportation by ICE. This phenomenon isn't unique to New York. Cities across America are experiencing similar declines as immigration enforcement intensifies. Susan Picardo, a Bronx bodega manager, describes the situation as the 2025 pandemic. But this time, it's an immigration pandemic. She notes a significant drop in foot traffic and fewer undocumented workers showing up for shifts, while a man from Ecuador expresses the pervasive fear gripping the community. Despite these challenges, 65% of Americans support deporting immigrants convicted of violent crimes, and some businesses are now seeking documented workers to stay afloat. The crackdown has sparked political panic, with critics warning of economic fallout, but supporters argue that the US was safer and more functional before the recent surge in migration.
A suspected gang member with warrants for kidnapping, burglary, and a gun crime, authorities told us. Around 5:30 a.m., heavily armed agents raid this apartment building and find the suspect and 3 other male associates. Today's Bronx operation required around 3 dozen law enforcement, yielding a handful of arrests. Vice President J.D. Vance has suggested deporting 1 million people a year could be possible, roughly quadruple the number under President Biden last fiscal year.
As ICE raids target sanctuary cities, neighborhoods are emptying out, raising uncomfortable questions about how undocumented individuals were earning and spending money. Some speculate that criminal activity, such as shoplifting or selling stolen goods, may have fueled local economies, while businesses admitting to hiring undocumented workers expose an illegal system that exploits both workers and communities. In New York, where over 400,000 people lack legal status, an underground economy has thrived, with unlicensed street vendors and off-the-books labor becoming commonplace. However, this system is collapsing under the weight of immigration enforcement, leaving businesses struggling and residents divided. While some celebrate safer streets and the removal of dangerous individuals, others mourn the loss of community, vitality.
As the immigration crackdown continues and some retreat in fear, people all throughout New York are stepping up. The New York City Council is providing more than $2 million in emergency funding to nonprofits helping immigrant communities and launching the first ever community interpreter bank. This all comes on the heels of Tuesday's multi-agency operation in the Bronx, Washington Heights, and Queens.
The situation is further complicated by gangs like Tren de Aragua, which exploit undocumented migrants, providing fake IDs and work papers in exchange for loyalty. As raids continue, the future of these neighborhoods remains uncertain, with some businesses pivoting to hire documented workers, creating opportunities for legal residents, but leaving others in the lurch. Immigration activists protest the raids as cruel, yet they rarely address the exploitation of undocumented workers by businesses. Meanwhile, New York's sanctuary city policies face scrutiny as shelters housing gang members and criminals spill over into working-class neighborhoods, endangering residents and legitimate asylum seekers alike. The city's refusal to screen individuals for criminal backgrounds before offering shelter has allowed dangerous elements to take root, undermining public safety. As the debate over immigration enforcement rages on, one thing is clear: the crackdown is reshaping communities, for better or worse, and the consequences will be felt for years to come.